into my colleagues. The rule with Facebook with my students is if I email them, I can maybe connect with them, but if I send them a Facebook message, they absolutely will read it because they're afraid like I might post on their wall or something. Right? So here's what my colleague does, and I'd be curious, Denise, if you accept friend requests from students.
Yes.
Okay. So here's what my colleague, who's Dean of, Carmen knows her, Melanie Huff, who's Dean of Students, what she does is she accepts every friend request the student makes. So she'll make 200 friends, and then she'll put them all on limited. And then at the end of the year, you know, you get to know like 4 or 5 of them, you like them really, you're now actual friends. She promotes them off of limited. And so that's a good policy, and I think people should have something. I'm not saying do what we're saying, but do something. I tell my students, acts of commission, not omission, and that's what you can do. By the way, you said what other social force? How about ONA, right? Madam President, maybe ONA can talk to them. But nobody else actually is. I've never heard anybody articulate this problem properly. LinkedIn, we could spend hours. Raise your hands, people on LinkedIn. How many of you know what you're doing on LinkedIn? Hands falling fast, but more hands than ever before. LinkedIn has a whole section on journalists, how to build your brand. I think LinkedIn is underused, underappreciated by journalists as a way to find contacts, to find sources. I did this training at CNN, and one of the overnight producers told me they found an NGO lawyer in Saudi Arabia who was on no other network except on LinkedIn and put them on the air within half an hour because they use LinkedIn. So you have to use LinkedIn. I tell people, when the plane lands in the Hudson, it's too late to figure out Twitter, right? But I see this every time. When Haiti happened, I said, when the earthquake hits Haiti, it's too late to figure out Twitter. But journalists run around like headless chickens. Twitter, Twitter, Twitter. They don't know what they're doing. Same thing happened in Chile, but I also say when your company starts doing layoffs, it's too late to figure out what? LinkedIn, right? Because panic is not a very attractive way of communicating with people. Get used to it, learn how it works so that you're in place when the action happens. At NPR this morning, one of the great social media guys at NPR you might know is Andy Carvin, right? A Carvin on Twitter, you should follow him. And what he said is that he started creating a Twitter list for Kyrgyzstan a few days ago. And you know it blew up last night. And so he was looking at all these people talking, brushing their teeth or whatever, all this other stuff, these experts. But then when Kyrgyzstan blew up, he was able to find the people, and their tweets suddenly went from this boring stuff to really useful, direct stuff they were using on the air at NPR, right? So you have to be ready. You have to have the connections. You have to know the etiquette, know what works, what doesn't, in advance, not in crisis mode. Crisis is not attractive. I hear that the same problem on JDate and other sites. Panic is not attractive, is what I've been told. JDate, anybody? All right. Google Buzz Guides. Here's some good. Look at what Mashkin says. This is a piece done by Ben Parr, B-E-N-P-A-R-R, another great person to follow on Twitter. And he said how it has changed the game. And when he says it, I trust what Ben says. He's terrific. Here are some other tips. Advanced users, things like that. Foursquare, again, I'm not using it, but other people are. Shane wrote a piece in Fast Company about it. And then I love this. If Obama used Foursquare. I'll let you picture that for a second. I've got a whole bunch of Twitter guides on here that you can look at. And then I want to show you quickly, there's a bakery in New York called City Bakery. Anybody know it? It's on 18th Street. And here is a picture. That's good. What's the mistake? What's the Twitter handle, right? People always ask me, how do you get more followers on Twitter? And I'll look at their email, and there's no Twitter anywhere in their signature file. This is, by the way, it's City Bakery, and apparently on 18th Street, every time they tweet, there's a clogging of all the elevators. Like people like rushing down to get the cookies before everybody else. So it should have said City Bakery. There's a famous example in somewhere in the South. They had a big billboard, follow us on Twitter, something, and no Twitter handle. So, you know, people are zooming down the highway at 70 with already distracted, and they see this, and they don't know, they're like thinking, gee, I wonder what the Twitter handle is. So it is City Bakery, but it could have been anything, right? It could have been New York Cookies. It could have been literally anything. So let's move up here and let me show you. So I've got some other tips and things like that. But I want to show you some things that I use every day and that I like. And many of you use it, and I'd like you to give me some pushback and share some ideas yourself. Let me take a time check from Tiffany. We were originally supposed to finish at 8:30, but we did start late.
We started late, so just go on until we look bored.
Oh. Too late now. I'm leaving. So,
No. I've been laughing loudly to indicate that you're doing great.
all right. So, TweetDeck people in the house, raise your hand. TweetDeck, Seismic. Seismic. Anybody Seismic? What else? What else? Twirl.
Hootsuite.
Hootsuite. Tweety. Echophone. Echophone. How do you pronounce it? Social Scope. So many things. Right? So, I don't use any of those. I use Hootsuite. I mean, I do use Hootsuite. And Hootsuite is like the non-nerdy thing. Because like the nerds will laugh at me if I say I don't use TweetDeck, because TweetDeck's so good. So first, let me stipulate. TweetDeck is fabulous. Because I get hate mail whenever I say anything about TweetDeck. Right? TweetDeck fans, very serious. So I prefer Hootsuite, and I'll tell you why. And you'll tell me which of these features that TweetDeck does. A lot of these features I bet TweetDeck does now, but they didn't do originally. I'd rather go with the place that did them first. So Hootsuite, that's what it looks like. It says I've been asleep, and I hit wake up. And Hootsuite is all web-based, which to me is really important, right? I have this MacBook. If I lose it, I don't care. I have no files on it. Everything's in Google Docs. Every single thing, all my files, everything's in Google Docs, so I don't care. We can talk about cloud computing another point and what I owe Google if it all disappears. By the way, how about this? I pay Google for extra Gmail space. Does anybody do that? You do?
No, I just wanted to point something out. Martina just walked in. It says right there, finally made it to the 100.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. With 7 others. All right. Thank you for coming. So I wrote an essay about Gmail's 5th anniversary, and I've been trying to find people who pay for extra Gmail space. And somebody said in the Googleplex, there's a spreadsheet of, you know, they make $4 billion a quarter, right? And then at the very bottom, it says extra Gmail space, $75, 1. That's how ridiculous I am. But okay, you get the picture. But by the way, they dropped the price. They tripled the space, and it's a lot easier. But anyway, we can talk about that another time. So what does Hootsuite do? So it's on the web. So that's really important for me, that it be on the web. And in fact, somebody can answer this. There's a question here from Kate. She says, I didn't get a chance. Thinking for any point in advanced folks going to your sessions, and somebody can say, no, I wish I hadn't come. Tweet at her and say that. And actually, I'm embarrassed that you're seeing her direct message.
Well, I'm sitting here. So,
wait, are you Kate? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I was going to hide it. It's too late.
There's no point. No, actually, I was talking about this afternoon.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm embarrassed. All right. Okay. So, one, it's on the web. But the most important thing it does for journalists, it does post-dated tweets. Critical, right? What does that mean? You can do your tweets at a later time. You set them and they go live later. I have a friend who runs an incredibly important blog, worldwide traffic. Hundreds of people tweet about it and talk about his stuff, but he spends on the blog 2 hours a week. How does he do it? On Sunday afternoon, he carves out 2 hours and then sets the post to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Right? Brilliant. But people think, wow, what a guy. He's doing all this stuff. So that's how I learned, and you can do that on blogs. You've all been doing that. Why not do that on tweets? Does TweetDeck do that? No. So that is one reason to use this. Why? At NPR, they were talking about this. One of the people there says, we love it because they're on the overnight shift. A lot of their audiences in America, they're asleep. So instead, they set it to go live later. I have a lot of people I would like to communicate with in India. And what I want to do is post tweets that go live at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then that goes and it shows up there at their prime time.